here as well. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hello, highest fairy. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Hello. How's everybody doing today? Are we well? Are we doing the right thing? Highest fairy, are you living right? Hi, Vaughn. Ooh, that just reminded me. Let me put this in Patreon so the people can come in the room. Let me see. Come on in the room. Oh, is this instant women? Oh, no, I need another type of post. Another type of post. I need to post. No, I need to post a live stream. Next. This is public. Publish. Okay, everybody should got it. We got Alive and Well. Hello, hey, Alive and Well. Hi, Sierra. Phoenix, peace and blessings, y'all. Peace and blessings to you as well. I'm about to move to 13. No, highest fairy. Just so I have, hey, y'all, I have the $8.88 tier. That's getting ready to be the only tier. So go to that tier. Peace. Hi, Farrah. Email Farrah back. Dear God. Let me tell y'all something. I have been what? Busy. I have been busy. I have been challenged. But I have what? Been thriving. I'm grateful for the challenges. I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for what I don't have. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those that are present in my life. I'm grateful for those that are absent from my life. I'm grateful. Make sure it's right. That's right. I am very, very grateful. I'm grateful that people mind their business, and I'm grateful that I mind mine. I'm grateful. Good afternoon. I'm grateful. And I will say, okay, hold on. This is a citrus and chamomile tea. Delicioso. I will say that despite the challenges, there's a lot more to be grateful for than there is to complain about. And that I'm grateful and I'm happy. And I find peace with that. Because all it takes, I felt that, and I'm right with you there, baby. Come on. All it takes, let me tell you something. I love what it is that I do in this capacity, in the spiritual and wellness capacity, but I also love what I do in the creative capacity. And in both instances, I have ran into people with far worse problems than me. And every time I think that my problems and stuff is so bad, I'm quickly reminded that there are people who are going through your same situation with no limbs. There's people who's going through your same situation with severe mental illness. There's people who's going through your situation with nobody to talk to, with nobody to connect to. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. My mother works, she's a nurse and she works at an intensive care facility and on a very skilled floor, with which simply means, not that I'm bragging on my mother, but I will at any moment. But it means that the patients are incredibly fragile, and anything you do could take them out of here. Okay. I mean, she has told me of people who have tried to unalive themselves and it was not successful. And everything died but them. Everything from the neck down but them. And when I heard that and just hearing some of the other horror stories, I said, you know what? I'm having a good day. Everything is well. Everything is well, truly. Everything is truly well. And then the other question is that I have to keep at the forefront of my mind is this thing that I'm doing, right? And this is my moment by moment check in. This thing that I'm doing, this thought that I'm thinking, this emotion that I'm feeling, is this helpful or is this harmful? Is this more harmful than it is helpful? And if this is something that is more harmful than it is helpful, then I'm the problem. And I must find something else to do, something else to think, something else to talk about, because this is not helpful. And we got to get to the point where we could check ourselves mid-sentence. We got to check ourselves mid-sentence, mid-thought, mid-complaint. We got to be able to check up. Let me redirect myself. Cancel and delete, delete that thought. Delete. And then we get to the point where we catch ourselves before we engage in the activity or before we speak out the thought. We catch ourselves at the origination of the thought. And that's the key. Preventative. But it is a journey. It is a journey. It is not something that is easy. Another thing that has been coming up with me in my life has been identity. Identity. So I'll say identity. More so in the examination of my identity, right? And truly being able to define and understand who it is that I am and what it is that I offer to the greater collective. That has been something that has been heavy on me. And I've had to really sit down and examine to see if I know those answers. Because if somebody were to ask me who I was, and I go, then we have an issue. You know, we have an issue because you know what else will happen when it comes to an activity that doesn't align with you. When it comes to the time for you to make a decision for your wellness, and so I have found thus far that the key to life, truly, it's not raising your vibration. It's not changing the frequency. It's not shaking rocks, blowing smokes. It's not accolades. It's not accomplishment. It's not generational wealth. It's none of those things. It is the knowledge of self, the knowing of self. Because if you know yourself, there is a heap of things that you will save yourself from. And also thrust yourself into. That's the key. You trying to know these energies, these orishas, these deities, these spirits, these practices, these religions. What does that mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? I see this. What is that? What do you mean? Let's start there. Let's start with a self-defining. And those of us who have survived religion, that's one of the very first issues that we have. We don't know who we are. So we don't know what practices resonate. We don't know, period. Because what is okay for somebody else may not be okay with you. Just like food. If you are eating food and knowing that you don't like the type of food, then you will go and get yourself some different food. Right? But if you have not taken the time to explore and ask yourself, what is it that I like? What is it that if you have not done the work to fill in those blanks there, then you may make it up in your mind that food is nasty and you prefer to drink. But this is all a byproduct of the lack of self-knowledge. This is all a byproduct of the lack of self-knowledge. Anytime that I've had an experience with the divine, with God, source, spirit, ancestors, every single thing was about me. The request that was made of me was to explore the self. It was to do things that would enhance, enlighten, and progress the self. Because if I were to enhance, enlighten, and expand and progress the self, I then can do that in the world. I can do that in the world. But, and this is the issue of clergy as well. Clergy, spiritual teachers, priests, priestesses, whatever language you want to use, those who have titles, you can be so engrossed in the religion or in the spirituality or the spiritual practice that you start to identify with what you do. You identify with the religion. You identify with these things, and you don't have an identity outside of those things. One pastor that I had watched, I think it was some video, a video where they were discussing one of his sermons, and they asked him his opinion. And you know what he said? He said, I have no thoughts outside of the Bible. My thoughts, I have no other opinions outside of what God teaches in the Bible. Category 10 problem and recipe for ultimate doom and disaster. Category 10 problem and recipe for ultimate doom and disaster. Why? Because you are not the Bible. So if you have no thoughts outside of something that you are not, that is a problem. And this is where the setup comes in. When you question it, come on, Dr. Jones, we tapped in. When separate from someone else questioning it, when you find out that there is something askew about what you have been practicing or about your religion, you don't want to accept it or believe it, and so you go ahead and slip your way into denial. Or 2, you have a complete shattering of the identity. Or 3, you choose not to think about, not to address it because of what it would cost. And so when someone like me makes a video about something, especially the videos that I used to do, you are going to be triggered to high heaven because you don't have an identity separate from this. So me questioning this means me questioning the very fabric of who you are. And so that's why when people get on and they defend it with their life, it is because that is their life. They believe that they are defending their very existence. And so those folks have been done a disservice because we were not taught self. In fact, everything good was God, everything bad was you or the devil, or the devil using you. So where do you come in? You know? And so we all, and this does not just go for the church. This goes for African traditional religions. This goes for all religions, all practices. You got to know who you are separate from that. This whole concept of destroy the ego, absolve yourself of the ego. No, dangerous and wrong, because you need an identity. If you were not supposed to be an individual, you would have been, we'd have been all created as one person. We would have incarnated here in one physical body. We would have been one person. But the beauty here is, I even think about one of the scriptures that I would use in conversation, which was Corinthians. I believe it's Corinthians 12. 12 is like Corinthians 12. Amana says, I used to blame the universe, God, everybody else for the twin flame journey. I used to say it was a scam until I realized I was supposed to be on this journey for me. Come on, myself, my identity, me. Yes. Now, Amana says, I'm no longer mad or angry and realize it all points back to self. Everything always goes back to self. There's a song by Lettucey that's called One. One, back to the beginning. One, life will lead you to one. It's a beautiful song. I gotta put it in a group. We also want to get to a point, and this is my prayer for everybody that is on their journey or in the lighthouse in particular, that you could go in and sit and express in all religious spaces and be able to get something from that. That you can go sit in the Buddhist temple and get something from that experience. That you can go sit amongst the Muslims and get something from that experience. You should go sit in the church and get something from that experience. You could go sit in whatever space and get something from that experience. If the ancestors could go outside and look up at the sky and look at the clouds and tell you what God had to say, you can certainly sit in any spiritual, religious space and hear something that can help you, or that will change a thought, or be able to take something that is said and refer it to something that resonates with you. Okay? You got to. Because even when we talk about the Bible, can I talk about the Bible for just a second? Just a second. For just a second. I just want to just gently, and I'm not going to spend all day on it, but I want to set this up before I talk about this scripture to support what I'm saying. Amanda said, girl, they be trying to anoint me at the church. I'd be so suspect. Amanda's like, get that oil off of me. Well, we have to understand, even in the Christian faith, the Bible did not fall from forth the heavens. The Bible was created by men, and the church folks will argue and say specific men. Okay, specific men who were inspired by God based upon their experiences. Okay, it is not only necessary that we consider that God did not write the Bible, or even the divine did not create the text. That these men in that time period created this text. That's important because ethics change drastically, right? Ethics change drastically. So, even as a reader, I am receiving a message during Jim Crow before I. No. I'm talking about when we talk about even the origin of this text, like BC. So we're talking about thousands of years ago. The origins of some of these texts and stories, thousands of years ago. Even as a reader, I am a conduit of the Spirit, as to say that the messages and things pass through me, and I am to interpret. Here's the key. I am to interpret the message and give it to you. Now, what happens if the day that I am receiving the message and I am the processor, I ain't getting no sleep? I've been suffering from insomnia and haven't been able to sleep at all. Or let's say, because you see, the interpretation of the message, that's also where the brain comes in. The spirit gives the message, and it is up to you to decipher what this means. And depending on the way your ability is set up, the spirit can tell you the exact things or whatever, right? But your brain is involved in this process of communication. Okay? Why? It has to be, because the client will ask, can you clarify that? Does this make sense? Or what does that mean? You know, that you have to, the brain is involved. Or let's say I have a mental illness and I did not take my medicine, or this is not a good day for me. What will happen to the message? What could happen to that message? If my unwell self is the filter for this message, the message can easily be distorted. Easily. Clouded. Yes. Easily. Easily clouded, because I'm the filter. It's me. That's why it's important that the people that you get a reading from, or that you consider a mentor or a spiritual guide or whatever, that they are well. That's important. All right. And if you look at several folks who have had religious or spiritual experiences with God in the text, these people have not been well. They've been in the heat, in the desert, okay? In the midst of a physical struggle. Just from that perspective. So let's say this, let's say I am well, right? Let's say I don't have, I slept appropriately, I'm healthy, I'm well, but the lens that I see life through is through a lens where I believe that men are superior. And that men are the ones who have the most access to God. And the spirit shows me, if you are a woman, I'm talking to a woman, and the spirit shows me you sitting in a throne. If I, here comes the brain, don't believe that women are to be in certain spaces, my belief will misinterpret that message. That part. My belief will misinterpret that message. And so I would take that, even though the spirit is really giving it to me, right? The spirit is really giving me this message. I am gifted. I have this ability. And so I would say, the spirit is showing me you on a throne. Here comes the belief, trying to unpack it and interpret it. I think that you're getting ready to come into a connection with a man of high power. And the spirit wants you to be diligent to that connection. And this man is going to lift you up and put you in a higher position than you are currently in. Now, here you go. going around looking for a powerful man to lift you up, because a misogynistic one is the one that you're tapping into and getting messages from. Thank you, Stardust. I appreciate the roses. Are you tracking that? So the lens matters. It matters because they can be tapped in. And I want us collectively to not be impressed because people are tapped in or they have abilities. Who they are still matters in the process. What they think still matters in the process. That still matters, right? You're welcome, Concrete Rose. It's like trying to take a picture with a dirty iPhone camera. The image is unclear. Exactly. That's a great example because this is a phone and this phone can take pictures, but the lens is dirty. So the image will be distorted based upon the condition of the lens. So we cannot be impressed because people can't connect you to your grandmother, or people can read and tell you what's going to happen and stuff like that. They can be really tapped in. But what is the lens? What is the character? There's a statement that says, don't meet your mentor. No, you need to meet your mentor. You need to know the person behind the prophetic. You need to know the person behind the psychic. You need to know the person behind the ability. Because when you tap in with them, you are coming into an energetic agreement. And so you need to know who you are connecting your energy to. So watch folks over time. Watch folks over time. Don't be so quick to hop on because they look good, they look spiritual, they got a whole bunch of people in their group watching, they got all these followers. Watch folks over time. Study people. When you go to their page, watch all their videos before you send them some money to help you or to tap in with your energy. Yes. And discernment, I love that. FD 1111 Ministries. I love that. And let me say this here. Discernment is spiritual and physical. It is spiritual and mental. There is a due diligence that you need to do. That is also discernment. So scroll down and watch their content. You know, watch them. Watch how they interact. Look at their other stuff. And then if your spirit feels well, if the things feel well, then go ahead and tap in with that person. Right? But it is critical that we get to know the person. We got to be aware of the person because there are a lot of powerful, tapped in people whose righteousness is in the trash. They are the furthest thing from it. And so someone would say, how can you be tapped in and be evil? The same way that you can have an R. Kelly that can sing, write, play, and is also an assaulter of women and young girls. Character matters. Character matters. Character matters. And so when we talk about the text, we got to get clear who these people were. All right? We have to get clear. We have to get clear of the lens. That's right. I love that. FD 1111 ministry just says spiritual gifts goes both ways for good and evil. But that's the key. The gift is separate, is a separate thing from the integrity or the righteousness. A doctor knows how to unalive you. A doctor knows how to do that. A doctor can unalive you in a moment. A surgeon can unalive you in a moment. But because the doctor is not a murderer, the doctor's not going to do that. Because there is an integrity and a righteousness present within the doctor. But the doctor knows how to do it. Same thing for me. I am a hoodoo practitioner on a professional scale. I know how to do something that can harm somebody. I know how to go and get this, that, and the third from this animal and stuff, because the children are just using cow tongue, but they don't know nothing about the sheep tongue, about the pig tongue, about the chicken tongue, about the goat tongue. I know how to do that, but I'm a righteous person, and my ethics don't align me to harm people. That's not in my nature. My ethics align me to help people. My ethics align me to help people because I am not interested in hurting nobody. True power is knowing wrong, evil, and choosing not to do it. That's right. Because I know that that's not right. I know that I was not gifted an ability to work with herbs and roots and things like that to do harm. I know that. So I would never do that. Which is why when folks get on here and they're talking about who they got in this jar, who they did this to, and who did that, all that type of stuff. These are not righteous people. And I don't care. I'm not interested in a conversation of vengeance. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that, because if you really knew what you knew, you would know that the fact that you got on live and showed what you was doing, that you have tainted the work. So that's not it. A nurse knows the amount of medicine to administer to take you out of here. A nurse knows what dosage can shut these systems down. But a nurse who is worth her salt is a good person and is not interested in over medicating folks and taking people out of here. So I want us to be very clear. And so when we talk about the Bible, one thing that the folks don't talk about is that these folks was not the culture, right, of literature in those times were centered around mysticism. Jesus even says, I teach in mysteries. Biblical Jesus, I know people say Yahshua, whatever, teaches in mysteries. Mysteries. So, and to understand that language, you need to look at the mystery schools in Kemet. If you research the mystery schools, you would see that they taught mysteries. So, what does that mean? They taught in myth. Myth, when we think about myth nowadays, we say myth means it's fake. He said it's fake. No, that's not what myth means. When they would teach myths, hey y'all, when they would teach myths, it would mean a story that is not about whether it happened or it didn't happen. It was with the intent to find all of the lessons that can be pulled out of this story. Because when you can find all of that, it's actually useful. So, an example, if I were to talk about the story of Adam and Eve, if I were to talk about the story of Adam and Eve, it does not help you at all to know that Eve ate the apple and Adam, that they ate the apple. And then sin came into the world. What does that do for you? How can you take that and go and live and go forth into the world? That's if we take the things literal, right? But because it's written in mysteries, and we know that that is how the ancients wrote, how the mystics wrote, that meant that you, everybody could read that same thing and pull the different lessons out. And all of those lessons would be real and true because it's not about the story. Me just telling you, Adam, God told them not to eat from this tree. Eve let a snake, tempt her. She ate the apple and then made Adam eat the apple. And then they hid themselves. They were naked. They were ashamed. And then God kicked them out the garden. And then sin came across the land. That does nothing. If I were to say instead that Adam represents the divine masculine, the divine doing, which is why he was there to work. Eve represents the divine being, which is the divine feminine energy, which is wisdom, which is knowing, which is intuition. And the snake, the serpent, represents someone who comes forth here to challenge her knowing, and to convince her that there is something that she doesn't know. And it is through her going against her knowing that then brings down everything else. You can do something with that interpretation. You could take that and say, wow. So anytime I let somebody outside of myself convince me to go against what I know, I can expect calamity to happen. You can do something with that. Mysteries. You can do something with that. You can say, got it. So it ain't about blaming the woman, punishing the woman, The womb was infected. Here we go. What was affected? Let's look at that. Let's put our mystery school hat on. The womb, now she was cursed to have pain in the birthing of the things, right? A birthing of children, pain, right? Let's look at that. If you go against your knowing, if you go against your divine feminine energy, the divine feminine energy is the birthing, it is the creation center. So going against your knowing will bring about difficulty in the birthing of the things that you are meant to birth in this world. I can do something with that. I can do something with that. And not take it so literal, because that's not how the ancients wrote. And now I'm thinking that a woman actually appeared from a rib. And I'm actually thinking that a woman is less than a man. That is all that it's low brow, right? So I want us to expand our minds when we read these texts. But here we go. Don't just do it with the Bible. Not barbecue rib Eve. Do it with the Quran. Do it with the Buddhist text. Do it with the Bible. Do it with the Harry Potter books. Girl, do it with Winnie the Pooh. Because this will start to expand the mind, expand the consciousness. Now, see, had it been broken down to me like that, it would have saved me from so much foolery. Come on, Perks. But guess what? You can take the Adam and Eve story. And I want to encourage y'all to do this. You take the Adam and Eve story and break it down. And I want you to create 4 lessons from that Adam and Eve story that don't got nothing to do with what a woman's supposed to do, what a man is supposed to do. That don't got nothing to do with what women should have did and what women shouldn't have. But let's look at it in those ways, because there's not supposed to be an absolute when it comes to the mysteries. It is supposed to be what you observe and the wisdom that you can pull from this, not whether it actually happened or not. Because when we start to look at the facts and we look at the family tree, things start to fall on their head. Means Adam is human. Even in the original translation, everyone was equal to Adam. Listen, absolutely. It says in there. And I had to. When was this? Maybe last year, 2 years ago. I don't know. I was windmilling the people, because it says in there that he created them equal. It says it in the text. But for some reason, because of the lens, the people, we just look over that. Yeah. We just look right over that. You know? But here, come know thyself. Here we go. Know thyself. You may be like, okay, I can see that, but I don't want to use the Bible. Don't. I'll tell you right now, the Bible is not a part of my spiritual practice. That's me. Read anything, because it's not about what it is. It's about the principle. It's about the function. It's about the study, right? And so in understanding this has helped me to embrace my Christian, hold on. Let me be very clear here. I was blessed to have a Black American church Christian experience. I can't speak about people who did not grow up in that. I don't know nothing about the Jehovah's Witnesses. the Seventh-day Adventists, all of that, Latter-day Saints, Mormons. I'm talking about a very Black American traditional spirituality of Christianity. Missionary Baptists, in fact, Coliseum Park Baptist, in fact, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. Okay, I want to be very clear when I say this. Okay. And so this understanding has allowed me to heal my views of my Christian upbringing, because I'm able to expand my mind and see now what I was being shown, right? And this don't have nothing to do with what was right and what was wrong, because ain't nothing changed about what I done found out to be a lie, what I done found out to be incorrect. Ain't nothing changed about that. But what I knew is that the claps and the harmonies and the prayers and the energy was not something that was outlined in the text. I knew that my people, it was their blood, it was their ancestry that was centered in the church, because that was the only place they had to go. You can't look in the text and find those harmonies. You can't look there and find that. That's not, you can't do that. Good luck. Because the spirit's in the people. If Buddhism would have been the predominant religion and the folks had transitioned into that and they was enslaved by Buddhists, our chants would sound just like them gospel songs. Because our tones and things like that was birthed from the blues, which we acquired through the transatlantic experience. Okay. So, hello. So we'd have been like, now, honey, now that Nam yo renge kyo, Nam yo renge kyo, bitch. Ooh, excuse me. The Blacks would have been like, Nam yo renge kyo. Oh, Nam yo renge kyo. Nam yo renge kyo. Na 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 nam yo. This is what the Blacks would have did. This is what the Blacks would have did. The Blacks would have did just that. Because it was the Blacks. It was the Blacks. Okay? We would have did it just like that. Na 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 nam yo. Yes, sir. Nam yo renge kyo. Na nam yo renge kyo. Yes, sir. The Blacks would have did just like that. No, the Blacks. That would have been the Blacks tearing it up in the Buddhist temple. No, that'd have been a surprise. No, 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 right, yeah. We would have done that. I'm trying to tell y'all, we would have done that. If there were the Germans, Bluster, Schneegen, Flagger, Fliegen. We would have done that. Because it's us. It's us. It's us. Don't believe me? Go listen to Afro Latin music. And like, listen to the blacks. Go listen to it. Listen to the blacks. No. Listen to Afro-Cuban music. You hear the blacks. They're just doing the blacks what blacks do in Spanish. That's it. African jazz versus Latin music. Come on. But that's what I'm trying. Y'all hear what I'm saying here. But I made the commitment to be willing to expand my mind and to see beyond what was shown, right? Because there is always a beyond. So when we look in the text, back on topic, where we're going to bring ourselves back to the subject of the need for individuality. I see we have gotten off task. We have strayed. We're going to come back and get ourselves back together. It says here, Nam yo rengekyo. Oh, basha. Listen, we got to start speaking in Spanish. I'm speaking chant, doing the Buddhist chants. Nam yo, and get caught up. It says here in the text, Corinthians 12:12. Right here in the text. Here we go. Just as the body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts from one body. So it is with Christ. You can determine what that Christ means for you. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. And that's the key. The body is not made up of one part, but many. Now, if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. So what is this telling us? Just because you are saying you are not a part, or just because you are telling me that my ability, how I show up, is not a part of the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. Okay, so guess what you can do? Anytime the Spirit showed up to me, the Spirit showed up to me as a woman. It was a feminine energy. It was the cosmic mother, and I ain't going back and forth about it. So if I read a text that resonates, I have the power to edit and exchange words that I need to exchange. If I need to say she, I'm going to say she. If I need to say something other than Christ, then I'm going to say that. If I want to take the songs, you see, we have to be, I want y'all to give yourselves permission to have a customized spirituality. Give yourself the ability to have a customized spirituality. I don't care if you want whatever if you want to go and call God the tree outside, you want to call the source the tree outside, do that. I don't care. And the spirit don't care either. The spirit is concerned whether you're connected or not. That's it. So if you want to take this, if you want to take the songs that you sung when you were growing up and you want to change the words, do that. Or if you know when they say this, you mean something else, that's okay. Because it ain't no hell for you to slip and fall into in the first place. So if you want to say, the blood that the ancestors shed for me. If you want to say that, way back in my history, the blood that gives me strength from day to day. It will never, never, never lose its power. If that's what you want to do it. And there's no penalty there for you. There's no penalty. Okay? If you need to change the name, the words, do it. But don't feel that you cannot have a customized spirituality. That includes that. I've heard you say that there isn't a hell, but what is your reasoning for that belief? I agree, but I don't quite know exactly why I feel that way. Yes, because the original language that this text was written in, which is now a dead tongue, was Aramaic. And the words that you would see for hell were different words. In fact, one was Sheol, which means grave, right? And when it shows up in the Newer Testament, the actual original word in the Aramaic was Gehenna. So when Jesus was talking about Gehenna, or you see Gehenna in the New Testament, Gehenna was not a spiritual place. Gehenna was a physical place in Jerusalem where they would burn bodies and trash, and they would do sacrifices, human sacrifices there. And so when we talk about Sheol, we got to see that the people were, Gehenna, we're talking about a metaphor here. So if you don't live your life right, your life will be like Gehenna. So that's that. So the interpretation was incorrect. And we have made it to be all of this other stuff. Excuse me. Not we have made it. It was intentionally made to be all this other stuff, this place of torment and eternal suffering, because the Roman church needed a way to intimidate the people into giving them money. And this is also why they had to give you a savior. Somebody stop me. Stop me. Ooh. Somebody stop me now. It's by no. I'm having a private meeting with myself to see if I should continue. They had to give you a savior so that you could be in fear. If you think that you need to be saved, that must mean that you're always in danger. Grade A, top-notch fear-mongering. So they wouldn't want you to think about Jesus in another way. They wouldn't want you to think about Jesus showing up in different ways, the energy of Jesus, the spirit of Christ, the Christ consciousness. They don't want you to think about it like that. Because they got to keep you afraid and worried. And it's by no surprise that you find the road to salvation, confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, you should be saved, in the book of Romans. Y'all all right? Y'all all right? I know you're all right. Can't help but be all right. Because it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to be afraid of. And that's it. Find that scripture. Find those other instructions. You can't find the road to salvation in any other book besides the book of Romans. Now, why would the number one opponent of Christianity have their own book in the Bible? I don't know. I could go further, but this is what the key is. If you knew to read this as a mystery, as something that you're supposed to expand and pull the lessons from, you wouldn't think that you would actually be burning in hell. You wouldn't have to be looking for the remnants of these items to see if this was real or not. If we were taught that initially. But there's too much liberty in that. There's too much freedom in that. There's too much. You have your personal relationship with God, with source, with spirit. Because if I can control the people, if I could control a people that is ruled by their spirituality, I want you to go study the Roman and Jew wars. And what you would know is that the Roman Empire knew that the Jews were ran by their literature. And that's why when you look at the old, now let's get clear here. Oh Lord, it's like we weren't supposed to do all this. We weren't supposed to do all this, Darcel. We wasn't supposed to do all this. But if you look and you see that, y'all, look. The Old Testament is very violent. Keep going, fam. The Old Testament is very violent. very violent. Suddenly we get to the New Testament and a new leaf has been turned over. Okay, just a whole new world. Why do you think that is? So what you will know when you study the Jewish and the Roman wars, the Romans ransacked all of their ancient scrolls, burned the others, took one, and said, okay, this is good. We're gonna work this out. But they burned all the other scrolls. But peep it. Y'all know about the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? The ones where the hidden, that's put in the Apocrypha, all of that. The ones, the hidden scriptures, the hidden text, right? Those were the scrolls and the things that the Romans did not grab. And you see the Bible in the New Testament depicting a certain world. And when you look at the scrolls that are written about the same period, it's two different worlds here. It is two different worlds. You're like, where's the violence? This is still violent. Y'all doing this like it's just a walk in the park. People just, it's two different worlds. So what does that mean? There was tampering, right? And so how did the New Testament get here? We got Apostle Paul. Oh, Apostle Paul. Now this is the key. Remember we talked about earlier, interpretation, lens, right? The wellness of the person for the interpretation. Paul was on the road to Damascus. So basically, if y'all ever watched Courage the Cowardly Dog, honey, in the middle of nowhere, where he saw Jesus out there in the field. Okay? Now, it is apparently from forth this experience that he then goes on a arduous task to spread the good news. And he is responsible for the bulk of the New Testament. This bright, blinding light, this is also a symptom of heat stroke. These symptoms are classic symptoms of a heat stroke, of a seizure, of a lot of different things that could have happened to him. But allow me to read this scripture. Please hold. Are the saints still here? Because in the book of Matthew, Jesus specifically says in Matthew 24, Jesus said, at that time, we're in Matthew chapter 24, verse 22. Let's go to verse 23. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, do not believe him. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So, if anyone tells you, there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out. Do not believe it. But Paul, Paul, I thought you saw him out in the field in the road to Damascus. But he said that if anybody claims to have seen me, don't believe it. Paul, I have questions. I I have questions. How did you see him? He literally says, if anybody do not believe it. Oh, so now I got questions. I got questions. Because that's what you said. Paul said, not Paul said, well, I did. Okay, Paul. Well, he specifically said, don't believe it. If anybody tells you they seen me, don't believe it. Now, okay, Paul. What we got going on here? What do we have going on here? So when I started to ask these questions, I said, okay. This is why the people was tired of me. Because there's a trick bag here. Because also, there's also a scripture where they was getting ready to take Paul out of here. A mob was running him down. And hundreds of Roman soldiers appeared out of nowhere to save Paul. But he's teaching a doctrine that goes against the Roman Empire, who was in control. So why would hundreds of the Roman Empire, hundreds of soldiers show up to save him? That don't make sense. If anything, as much as they was taking folks out of here and crucifying people and unaliving folks left and right, you would have let that fly. I don't know about y'all, but y'all tell me. Don't that give op vibes? Don't that give undercover agent vibes? Let's hood talk. Hold on. Okay, so if you got a dope boy who's on the corner, and a rival gang is getting ready to take him out of here, and hundreds of police cars show up to save him, you're gonna say he is an op. He is a snitch. He is a part of the force. It is a trick bag. He is an op. Because why else? Let me pull up the scripture. Acts 23, 23 through 24. 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen showed up to save Paul. This is the top. So now my question is, if you are an op of the Roman Empire, and all of a sudden in the New Testament that you wrote, there is a book in there called Romans. And then when I go and I look at Paul before he was Paul, when he was Saul, and I find that you were working for them. You were basically a police officer, Paul. This is a trick bag. You have tricked the people. You have tricked the people, because I was like, how did Paul travel so far to spread the word? And if there was supposed to be other people, why don't we ever hear about the other people who travel far to spread the word? And where are their stories and their texts? Why is it just you? How did you get the resources to travel around and spread this word? How you get the resources? Paul was not a rich man, was not wealthy. How'd you get the resources? Well, if you have the Roman Empire behind you helping you, I'm sure you'll be able to do that. I was going to do something real petty, but I'm not. Because when I ask these questions, y'all, and this is something that I've done a long time ago, I went to the Spirit with it. I said, Spirit, was this a trick bag? And the magician card flew out in reverse. And the Three of Swords. And the King of Cups in reverse. All cards that are about betrayal, that are about the magician card in reverse, manipulation, misuse of power. Don't get me started on Moses, please. Please don't get me started on Moses. Please. Please, that will have to be another day. That would have to be another day, Phoenix. But this is what I'm saying. This is why we have got to take this. If you want to, and you want to read these texts from a mystery space. Please, I don't want you to be reading these texts trying to see whether or not this really happened or not. That is going to be a waste of your time. Read these texts from a place of wanting to pull lessons and wanting to pull information and wanting to look at different meanings as to what these things could mean and to see how you can apply it. Read that way. Please do. Let's go. Hey, y'all go. I don't want to know more about Moses. I just want to know how Moses learned to write in Hebrew. That's me. I just want to know how Moses was raised by an Egyptian princess I want to know how Moses was raised by an Egyptian princess, and they wrote in hieroglyphs, but he ended up writing in Hebrew and learning Hebrew. That's part of what I want to know. That's my first question. So now my question then becomes, so let's say that, right? This is what my question is then. If Moses, because if I remember, I think his mother was a nurse for him. Now it's coming to me. So let's take that. How is it that we find the 10 Commandments, which apparently Moses went up to the top of the mountain and got from God, that was up on top of the mountain, okay? We find that in the 42 laws of Ma'at, which are thousands of years older than even Abraham. How? Because it would have been on the hieroglyphs, right? It was in the walls of the temple. So it was in the hieroglyphs. Okay. Moses then says, I got to save the Hebrews. Let my people go. The Hebrews could not read hieroglyphs. So the Hebrews would not have known what was on the walls and what it said. So when Moses comes down from the mountain with the hieroglyphs, the 10 Commandments, the Hebrews would have easily believed that it was from God because they would not have been able to read it when it was in the temple. Hoodwink, bamboozle, swindle, flim flam, wop, bambaloo, bob. Now this is just me. This is my theory. Hey, I'm just thinking here. Because then my question then becomes, now Moses, you the only one, you and your brother, you the only one that have access to God. Could nobody else have access to God but you? And you have to be the leader of the people, and God only speaks through you to them. Okay. What it kind of gives to me, what it gives to me was that you grew up there underneath all them pharaohs, and you're seeing the power that they had over the people. And it seemed like you wanted it too. It's given to me that you wanted it too. And so you go on this, deliver your people, because you're already exalted, because you are being raised by the Pharaoh's daughter. And you could come down with this copy of these texts because the people would not have read it on the walls. Which is why underneath your leadership, the people was lost for 40 years in the desert. It's giving scam. It's giving scam. There's a documentary on unlocking the truth of the Bible, and it's all from theologists, rabbi, preachers, etc. Was breaking it down, and it's on the History Channel. They said that in the book of Matthew that he was Jesus' older brother, and they left out a lot of his story about him in it. Okay, log me out. But this is why I said it's fun, to look at the things and be like, this is the trick. But also, this is why it doesn't really serve us to try to find the exactness. That's why it doesn't serve us. It serves you to open up your mind, to expand your mind, elevate your mind, my brother. It serves us to do that, to look at it from a space of mysteries. It serves us to do that. As opposed to trying to take the things literal. None of this is supposed to be taken literal. None of these ancient texts are supposed to be taken literal. They're not. I definitely was scammed. It's a scam of the grandest kind. Next. And then if you get into an account, let me tell you something. I don't have it here. If you look at the account of the crucifixion, if you look at the New Testament and the different perspectives of the disciples, oh my God. You have 12, you basically have 12 different stories as to what happened. Because this person said they saw all of these people this time. This person said they saw something different. This person heard something different. These people wasn't even there. This person, nobody would. Why are they all different? But this is the same event. In a court of law, the case will be thrown out. In the court of law, the whole case would have been thrown out. So I just Glow said because somebody lying, and I believe, you know what, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, because he read, and then don't let us go to Deuteronomy where Moses apparently wrote about his own self dying. But Moses, how did you write this and you wrote that you died? Because you'd have been dead. It's at the end of Deuteronomy. And Moses died. He went up to he died, and then God took his body and buried him somewhere else. He rose, Moses said, oh, hold up. I gotta write that last part. Tessa, that's what I'm saying, girl. Don't worry about it. He was like Tupac, right? It was a hologram. Well, when you look at the parting of the Red Sea, and then when you find the Aramaic that it was actually meant, it was mud. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. That's what I'm saying. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's just so much. It's so much. It's so much. Don't worry about it. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. Glow said, hold on, before I go, let me just, because they have people hating gays when they never said they were the issue. It's the fact that the actual words about homosexuality and stuff wasn't added into the 1940s. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, child. It's all right. ancient culture, happy Pride Month. Happy Pride. If you look at ancient, it was actually a mistranslation. As all things were. It was really talking about pedophiles. Can you imagine all of the black, well, first of all the queer folks, all the black sons and daughters that were kicked out of their homes, that ended up in sex trafficking and prostitution, that were beaten, unalived, assaulted because somebody mistranslated. Think about that. Happy Pride. Happy Pride. The fear that has been imparted in the people that has caused folks to be DL, marry women, and not actually love them or be sexually attracted with them, ruin the lives of children. All because of a text that wasn't supposed to be taken literal from the get-go. Imagine all the women that have stayed in abusive relationships, that have stayed in marriages all because of a book that wasn't supposed to be taken literal from the get-go. All of the women that are currently enchained in a marriage, enchained to make their entire life about supporting their man, that they never, ever tap into their own gifts, their own identities. You know, the place where you can find the most potential is in the graveyard. All because of a book that was not supposed to be taken literally from the get-go. Yikes. 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 All the people who could have eased into the ancestral realm with peace in their hearts, peace on their minds, and comfort, but instead died afraid, scared, passed away in psychosis, having images of being chased down by hellhounds. Because their brain pulls them into a psychosis, because the only thing they know about this time, this ending time of life, is that heaven or hell is on the brink. So the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the children had to transition with fear in their hearts to see if they were good enough. All because of a book that should never have been taken literally in the first place. So yes, we are in the age of Aquarius, where all of these things, all of these signs and wonders and religions and things are overturning themselves, and people are opting for that Aquarian individuality, that customized experience with the divine. They're opting for that instead. And 'tis a great thing. It is a great thing. And I'm grateful to say that I am a part of that movement that is bringing forth that change, bringing forth that freedom, bringing forth that opportunity to be in the midst of a customized experience with the divine. I'm grateful to be in that number. Come on. I'm grateful that there are people who are ushering that in. I'm grateful to be ushering in that there should never be a fear of the spirit, of the source, of God, or whatever name you want to give that. Should never be a fear. Never be a fear of that. Because God should not be scary. The spirit should not be frightening. The spirit is all encompassing, and you need to feel yourself as a part of that spirit. All right. I'll send you my book. Can I send you my book on biblical divination magic? Yeah, sure. DM me on here and we can get connected. I would love that. So, yeah, we love a customized experience with the spirit, and that's what y'all going to get from me. Now, don't y'all ask about the mentorship because I have the application prepared. So I'm going to release the application today on the Patreon. Okay. I'm going to release the application today on the Patreon. All right. But I have decided there's something I want to do as well with the mentorship. So you will be able to fill out the application so I can gauge the interest. All right. I have the application made, but I just want to make sure that I'm doing the things how I want to do them, because there's a software that I'm trying to see is going to work well for me. And so I'm very excited. And also, let me say this. There's going to be 3 different options. There's going to be a group coaching option. There's going to be a level 1 coaching option, and then a level 2 coaching option, which is private coaching. Okay. And I also want to say that this is an investment for you. So if you thought that, well, if you thought that you're like, oh, child, Darcel is my personal coach for $10 a month, think again. But I would outline that. I have done my best to make sure that everything is affordable for people, and in whatever capacity works well for you. Okay. But I'm very excited because that's going to be the key. Knowing thyself, developing a customized spirituality, and the mentorship lasts for 6 months. Look, Dr. Jones, I need you all to myself. I know. They said, ooh, I talk to Darcel every week personally. He helped me get my life together. Have time and the finances. I'm excited about this. Do you choose based on current participation in the group, or anyone able to have the time and the finances can do it? Is there an interview? Okay, so medium broke right now, but I'll look into it. I'm medium broke, not medium broke. That's taking me out. So one, the Patreon is gonna always exist, right? I'm never gonna get rid of the Patreon, right? So the Patreon is gonna always exist. My choice, my choosing, because I'm only going to do a certain amount of people. All right. The group coaching is going to be, I'm able to have multiple groups for the group coaching. But for the personalized spiritual coaching, just because you have to understand with that, I am dedicated to you for 6 months. So I can't have 45 people. Okay. I can't have 45 people. I'm gonna be sitting here. Okay, I can't have 45 people. I can't. I cannot. I cannot have it all. I can't have 45 people for the private coaching. I can't. So I'm going to limit it to 7 to 10 for the private coaching. And that's for both tiers for the private coaching. You know, because I have to be in tune with you. I can't be, no, because part of the coaching, just to give y'all just a tap into what is going to come with the things, which I'm going to specify. So that's the application. Hold on. So y'all understand what I mean when I talk about level of involvement, question off topic. Okay, cool. How can you tell when you've forgiven someone? Is forgiveness necessary on your spiritual journey? What I will say is this: I have learned to utilize. Just trying to figure out financial level investment alongside my current. Yeah, so you can choose either. Some people will want to just pay for the 6 months altogether, but there will be like a monthly payment plan that you can do. When I tell you, the thing is not trying to load appropriately. Who can I run to? So when we talk, so while this is loading, I'll answer this. Spirit, save me a spot. Look at Concrete Rose, save me a spot. When we talk about forgiveness, right? I want to start off by saying I have chosen to change the language because no matter how much I redefine forgiveness for folks still hear you getting away with it. It don't matter. Okay? It don't matter. Folks are still gonna hear you are getting away. That's what the people are gonna hear. So you could mix it up, change it up, however you want to do it. I'm telling you, the folks are gonna hear, okay, you getting away. what I would say, instead of forgiveness, I would say what is required to release this person or release this energy. What is required to release? And if we think about it for in a space of release, we don't have to have the sister cousins of reuniting and it feels so good. No, it is to release this. I will definitely say, yes, what is required to release? Let me see. And so, when you have released the person, when you no longer need anything from them. You don't need an apology. You don't need a continued conversation. You don't need them to do anything for you to achieve your wellness. That's one. Two, when you can look at the lesson without reliving the experience. You can talk about the lesson, you can talk about it without reliving it. That is also key. So from my perspective, it's that when, what does it say? I feel like people with the God/spiritual divine complex feel like someone is getting away with something, with things. Everything comes back around. Don't nobody get away with nothing. In healthcare, you see it front row. Lilo, now, hey. But when you have been taught that God is a punisher, and that forgiveness, you ask God for forgiveness and you are released of all your sins, I think that plays a part in that. So when you no longer need anything from the person, you have released them. When you no longer need them to say anything, do anything, rectify anything, you have released it. And also when you can talk about it without reliving it. You're not getting re-traumatized. You can talk about the lessons. You can gauge the lesson from the experience without being re-traumatized. That's when you know, at least from my perspective. From my perspective, that is when you know. That's when you're like, oh, okay. Utilize release helps give a different perspective. Right. When you say release, that changes things. And let me also not appear high and mighty. That was a struggle for me, using forgiveness. And even after defining it myself, I still said I got to find another word. But I got to release this person, which means I got to release this energy, right? And you want to know what really helped me? When I sat down with myself and realized, I sat down with myself and realized that everything that I've been through, I found out how it was necessary for what I'm doing today. Everything. From the worst of things, I found out that it was necessary for what I am doing today. It was useful. And so when I realized that things wasn't just happening to me, but things were happening so I could transmute that thing, take it from one thing, turn it to another, and use that to uplift and help the people. I can talk to somebody who is dealing with body shame issues. I can help somebody who is struggling because they have dealt with inappropriate touch. They have to reestablish a relationship with healthy touch. I can help somebody who has dealt with deep family betrayal. I can help somebody. Who has gun trauma. I can help somebody. I can look at all of the things that I've been through, because if I was supposed to die from it, I would have. That's enough to get me stirred up. If I was supposed to die from it or in it, I would have. So that means that there's something that I can do with it. But you see, it takes a willingness to release. It takes a willingness to see it differently. It takes a willingness. You got to be willing. Okay, now wait a minute. You have to be willing to do it differently. You got to be willing to see it differently. If you are not willing to see it differently, then you are not willing to move forward. Why? Because the way you've been seeing this thing hasn't helped you yet. The way you have been thinking about this hasn't helped you yet. You've been holding the same perspective and have been in the same place. So this can't be the way. It hasn't helped you yet. I was holding the same views about the people that harmed me, that hurt me. And guess what? I was still mad, still struggling in relationships, still struggling showing up, still struggling how to process. And I was just so dead on convincing myself, convincing others, whatever, that I was correct, that I was right, and all that, and yeah. Okay. And that did not help me. It didn't help me a little bit. It didn't help me. But it wasn't until I sat with myself and I said, I have to see this thing differently. And guess what? I didn't just sit with me. I sat with others. I didn't just sit with me. I went and sat with others, other spiritualists, other spiritual teachers. I watched videos. I was committed to my wellness. I changed my entire timeline, my entire news feed, because I was watching so much stuff that was about wellness. I put myself in the classes. I put myself in the therapy. I did the things. I decided for the first time in my life that I was going to be more committed to myself than I was to the people that harmed me. I decided for the first time in my life that I was going to be more committed to myself than to the people that harm me. And here, this commitment. Let's define commitment. Let's teach this thing here. What does commitment mean? Commitment don't mean liking something. That's not what commitment means. Commitment speaks to a dedication. So I decided that I was going to stop being so dedicated, so focused on other people, and that I was going to be more committed to myself. And it is through that switch in thought, that switch in focus. It is through stop doing this. and start doing this and looking at the lesson that was there. Because a lot of people that hurt me in my life, my spirit told me something and I did the opposite. Or I let them cross me and I didn't address it, and they built up steam on me because I had showed them a way to treat me by allowing them to continue to treat me as they did. And it was through my allowance of the mistreatment did more trauma occur. And I had decided that if I would have nipped some of the things in the bud when it happened, at the first sight, I wouldn't have got this far. I wouldn't be in this space. So the lesson was, Darcel, you deserve to be respected 24/7. There is not a moment in time that you get to walk in this space and be within that anybody gets to be in your company, in your energy field, and not treat you well, and not make you feel well, and not make you feel taken care of, and not make you feel supported. Because you deserve that. It was through people treating me less than I was that made me realize what I deserve. Because now I got the measurement. Now I got to say, I don't like that. I don't like when people do that to me. I don't like when people touch me like that. I don't like when people speak to me like that. I don't like when people care for me and love me like that. So I was able to create a standard based off of the discomfort. True healing happens when you can see the enemies. True healing happens when you can see those that harmed you as not villains, but as assets. But not as villains, but as things, obstacles that were necessary for you to get to where you are today. When you can see the villain as valuable. Did y'all catch that? True healing happens when I can see the villain as valuable. That's when I've healed. And so that's when you know you've released somebody. That's when you know you've healed. When you could see the villain as valuable. For who it is you are today and what you needed. Because if you were supposed to die in it, you would have. You could say, Darcel, how can I possibly see the value in the person that assaulted me? How could I possibly see the value in the person that abused me? Okay. One, you lived through it, which means that there was something you're supposed to do with it. Now, I bet you could take one look at a kid, one look at a little girl, and tell that they need to get out of that household. You could hear one word in a fellow sister's voice and tell when she needs to get out of that relationship. You could see one side and be able to do for another what someone didn't do for you. That's the power. Because you have now taken that experience. You've taken that trauma and transmuted it into a tool. From trauma to tool. And now under your watch, under your care, nobody is going to have to walk that path alone or walk that path at all. Because a lot of what we've been through, there have been people that have died doing that thing, experiencing that thing, suffering that trauma. There's been a lot of people who got on up out of here because they couldn't survive that. But you did. So when we talk about what is profitable to you and what isn't, is it more profitable for you? Is it more helpful or harmful? We talked about that earlier. Is it more helpful for you to see the things as life just is unfair, I'm broken and I'm ruined and I'm damaged, and is that helping you or anybody else? That's not helping you. And guess what? You've been having that same perspective and you're still sad. And you still can't have healthy relationships. And you still can't have the peace and the joy in your life that you deserve. So guess what? We got to look at it differently. We got to look at it differently. I can choose to see myself as a victim of the circumstance, or I can see myself as a survivor of it so that I can help others. That's a choice. And which perspective helps you? Because see, a survivor does not negate that you have been through what you've been through. But that gives the vibe, the feeling, the thought that you are on the other side of, and that there was a conquering that occurred. But from the victim aspect, and with the victimhood, the victim mindset, it is to say that there is a current oppression, this is now. I am currently affected, afflicted, broken down by this, and this has a hold of me now. You make the decision. What thought is helpful? What thought is harmful? And it's not easy. So if you think you could just change your mind and say, this is this one day and it'd be fine. No, it takes work. But I can tell you, as they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So thinking the same thought over and over again, expecting for it to change, is not going to change it. And I love what Concrete Road, was it nothing? Lilo brought it up earlier. I'm telling you now, there may not be a hell, but I'm telling you now, nobody gets to do anything and get away. They get by, they may get by for a long time, but the people don't get away. But even with that thinking, you still focus on somebody else and you not focus on you. You so focus on how they're going to get punished that you don't focus on how you're going to heal. And I'm telling you, this may not be a popular perspective, and I get that. But I'm going to tell you this, it is a healing one. Because this don't absolve nobody of nothing that happened, nothing of what they did. But what this does do is position you to get out of that funk, to get out of that perpetual cycle of shame, of pain, of unhealthy relationship that pulls us out of there. We was talking about the Bible. It says it in the scripture. Let me pull it up. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. So that's why, I listen, I teach from a holistic perspective. I'm not just going to focus on the spirit and have you taking spiritual baths and burning smoke and shaking rocks and clapping at the sky, which that got power. But we're going to work on the mind. We're going to work on the physical. We're going to work on the mental perspective here and make sure that we have all of that intact as well. Because as we've seen, there's a lot of spiritual folks that you will see on the Clock app, on YouTube, on Instagram that are in the midst of a psychosis because they took care of their spirit, but they did not take care of their mind. They took care of their spirit, but they did not take care of their mind. So your energy is great. You got all the tools, but guess what? You got to take a spiritual bath every 45 minutes because as soon as you to take that bath, the thought that produced that energy that you cleanse yourself of is back. So we got to deal with things from a holistic perspective, which is why I have coined the phrase for what it is that I do, which I'm also updating my website. It's a lot of stuff going on, y'all. But I consider myself a holistic interventionist. When you have a session with me, I am coming here to intervene on what has been happening here from a holistic perspective and bring all sides of you back into balance. Because a lot of folks don't understand that you got to deal with the physical with the physical. You got to deal with the spiritual with the spiritual. You can't deal with the physical with the spiritual. You can't, not just, sometimes you can, but that's not the sure. If you need to, if you know that you got diabetes because you need to lose weight, don't you light no candle? Don't you light no candle? You like, oh Lord, my sugar acting up. Let me get in this spiritual bath. What? Get in the spiritual bath? Your blood pressure is busting you upside your head and you getting in a spiritual bath? Blood pressure knocking your head down from side to side and you get in a spiritual bath. Such a thorough answer needed that. Thank you. You are so welcome. I appreciate you. Leg finna pop off and you said, whoo, Lord, let me go put this crystal around my ankle. Now, are there crystals that got physical properties? Yes. But is that the most immediate thing you need to do? No. Whole stomach finna blow up. And you sitting there, ooh. Well, while I'm here, let me go on over here and, ooh, light this candle, put this mojo bag around my neck. Okay. Ooh. Please. We got to do the right thing. Take the medicine, then do the bath. Thank you. do that and this and that, this and that, this and that. I need you to do both. Same thing for the mental health. Now, if you know you got bipolar disorder, you know you got you a chemical imbalance. Okay, I need you to meditate, yes. And you might need to take that little pill. You might. If it is a chemical imbalance that's happening, you got to get them chemicals balanced. That is physical. You might. Or you are getting ready to, your house, let me tell you something. That little pill, you might take a little, it's just a little pill, just a little pill. You might have to take that little pill. Because can't everybody just go in meditation and just come out well? Everybody can't do that. Ain't nothing wrong with needing to take a little pill. You got to do, there's a lot of little pills that a whole bunch of people need to be taking and they ain't taking it. And not just for psychological reasons either. So take your meds. Take your medication. Let's not play games here. That fan is cute. Thank you. Okay. Y'all, there was so much that was dropped today. I hope you got your feel. I hope you got your feel. TikTok, hold up real quick. I hope you got your feel. I hope that you got some encouragement. Matter of fact, what was some of the quotes from the class? Oh, this wasn't even the class. This will be just a conversation. What's some quotes so I can remember so I can make content about it later? What's some quotes that was said today that stuck out to you? Come on, for us. Come on. Watch replay. I came in late and still got my feel. Come on, Kiera. Yes, tons, a lot of gems. Come on, gems. Good. Come on, 444. Yes. Confirmation. Transmit situation from trauma to a tool. That's it. True healing happens when you see the villain is valuable. That's how you know you. Now I have to say, now I ate on that. Okay. Hey. Should do just, yes, that's right, Kiera. Value in the villain. Let me tell you something. I ate with that one. That ate. But you know, now if you hear somebody say that anywhere, no, they got it from me. Copyright. Darcellandre, copyright. Copyright. Yeah, and honey, because that's why I have to ask y'all. I gotta watch the replay because I got to. I gotta come back and catch it. Oh, seeing forgiveness as energetic release. Yes. Look at the vision as valuable to who you are today. That will preach. That's what the church would say. Now that will preach. That's right. Truly. I gotta make that video. That's when you know you got to see it as valuable. Because what else is gonna help? You've been seeing it the other way all this time and ain't nothing changed yet. When I tell you, I keep passing by this document. That's because I need to do a separate live discussing the program. The program. I gotta do a separate live discussing the coaching program. But anyways, I love y'all so much. Take these texts. Oh, what'd you say? Olive made. Come on, Tessa. Take these texts as metaphorical and find the lessons in them. Same patch can have multiple lessons. That's right, Kiara. That's good. That's it. Okay. You know you hear you take lesson what happened and reveal. Yeah, boom. You need nothing from them. That's the key there too. You know, you're healed when you can take a lesson from what happened without reliving the trauma. You need nothing from them. You can stop blaming and turn within. That's right. Okay, so I'm gonna ease on down the road, but it's on my spirit to pray before we go. And so that, one thing that I will do is pray. Divine source, divine spirit. First, we want to come forth to say thank you for another opportunity to grow, another opportunity to develop, to learn, to flow, to step into the oneness with the divine. Spirit, we're grateful for every opportunity we have to connect with others, to have a resonance. Spirit, we're grateful for the opportunity for messages that are delivered to hold true within us, to be flashlights that reveal the parts of us that we have hidden and exactly what the source of the problem is so that we can heal. Spirit, we're grateful for that. Divine source, we first want to say also, we're thankful not only to the spirit for the spirit, but we're thankful to us, Spirit. We're thankful that we have made the decision to align ourselves with resources. We're thankful for us for being there for us. We're thankful. We say thank you to ourselves for being dedicated. Even if, Spirit, we started and stopped, we're grateful for all the times that we have chosen to start again. Spirit, we're grateful for everything, all the things that we experienced, Spirit, whether it was good, bad, or otherwise. We're grateful for the fullness of the experience because we know that the divine, that the universe is intentional and everything is always happening the way it is supposed to happen, Spirit. And we are grateful because there is a process. There is an initiation of a thing that is leading to a different, better, fulfilling end result. For that, we say thank you. Spirit, I also pray that there be a covering of peace over all that are witnessing this today, that are part of the message. Spirit, may there be a peace that covers the top of their head to the bottom of their feet. Spirit, let there be a healing that takes place in any of the parts of them, be it in the spiritual, in the mental, or the physical. Spirit, where there is an impairment, where there is an ailment, where there is something that is working against their progress. Spirit, we take that energy and we break that. We remove that from the energy body. We remove that from the mind. We remove that from the physical body, Spirit. Spirit, we ask that any problem that anyone that is witnessing this prayer, that is in this space has, Spirit, we pray that there be a divine revelation, Spirit, that the solution show up just as fast as the problem appeared. Spirit, we say all of this with conviction, with authority, and with great gratitude. Ashe. And it is so. Okay. It is so. And so it is. Okay. I'll check your inbox. All right, y'all. If you know you need a one-on-one, book the one-on-one. If you ain't in the Patreon, get in the Patreon. Go to the link in the bio. More importantly, tell somebody what you learned today. It is helping you right now, but it may save somebody else. Okay? All right, y'all. I'll see y'all later. Peace, everybody.